Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Habitat World India Habitat Center, I welcome you to this evening's panel discussion. Is there a Kashmiri Psyche? The aftermath of the polls. Our panelists this evening are Dr.Radha Kumar, Director General, Delhi Policy Group; Iftikhar Gilani, Chief of National Bureau, DNA; Raina, Actor and Director; and Paro, Anand, Author. The discussion will be moderated by Mr. Amitabh Mattoo, who is Professor of International Studies from JNU, New Delhi.
When I first heard the term psyche, it invokes all sorts of symbols and various kinds of images in your mind. But really, I think the important thing is to try and demystify psyche in terms of what do the people of Jammu and Kashmir think, what are their aspirations, what are their cultural roots and moorings, and given the election, which has produced, which has been the most inclusive election for a long time, but it has also produced one of the most fractured and, I would argue, polarized mandates. What are the possibilities of a reconciliation? In the context of, when we talk about the context of Jammu and Kashmir, we always talk about the need for multiple reconciliations. There are obviously a great need for reconciliation between the people of Kashmir and New Delhi. Within the valley itself, there's a need for reconciliation between the Kashmiri Pandits, many of whom left the valley, and the majority Muslims.
Let me say on the issue of psyche that... Let me say on the issue of psyche that people in situations of conflict, especially protracted conflicts as has been the one in Kashmir until recently, do tend to have some common psychological features or reactions. There is always a certain sense of volatility, there's always a fear that conflict, there's always an overheated political atmosphere in which every little act is interpreted, reinterpreted, misperceived, debated, and often given significance much beyond its real worth. And that perhaps is the only remark I have to make on psyche.
First of all, because this debate is only after the elections were conducted in Kashmir, and this election, the 2014 election, which I believe this was the first normal election in Kashmir after 1983. Before that, 1987 was also an election, normal election, but results were not normal, and we saw the consequences of that election. Because in Kashmir we have just few elections which we can say that they were normal elections. That was 77, I can say that's 83, and now it's 2014. But interestingly, what the Radha had mentioned about is communal polarization. It was exactly the 83 election was a highly communally polarized election. But in that election, Indira Gandhi, as a Prime Minister of India, she stayed in Jammu for 9 days as a Prime Minister and polarized the situation all around in Jammu.
When culturally, if the culture has all its roots from Tajikistan, partly, because I work in culture, I see if you just scan through the poetry of from 14th century down to this today, all poets, you will see they pick up metaphors, they pick up similes from the Shaivite tradition, it be Muslim, Hindus, all of them. Shaivite tradition, from Sufi tradition, as well as from Buddhist tradition. I don't have the point, I could scan through, even now you will see Sanskrit words, Persian words, it's an amazing, mosaic they work in. In fact, when I was making this film on Sufyana music, I discovered completely very different thing. But having said that, for me, Kashmir is intact, but I need somebody to take it, some Jalo to take it.
First of all, I have to say I'm, I think, the least qualified to be sitting here on this panel. And you couldn't find a more apolitical animal if you went hunting for one than me.
But I have been working somewhat in Kashmir. I work with children in difficult circumstances, and part of that work and part of my writing has been based in Kashmir. I started out one of my first trips working with young people, and I basically work with, I'm a writer for children and young adults and teenagers. So one of my first projects was, I was working in the government and we went to Kargil to do a project, we went to Baramulla to do a project, and the Kargil conflict suddenly exploded, and we were with the children who had come from the border areas.